You're being selfish, Claire. This is what family does. I'd heard those exact words before. When I was 13 and gave up my birthday money so Noah could go to basketball camp. When I was 17 and skipped prom to pay for SAT prep because my parents couldn't afford both. When I was 22 grinding through 3 jobs in college while Noah was on his 3rd failed startup and still mooching off the guest room. But this time, I didn't even blink. No, I said, folding my arms tightly. I'm not giving you my money. Elaine blinked at me like I'd slapped her. Her mouth tightened into that thin little line I'd grown up fearing. It's not your money, she said. It's family money. We raised you, we supported you. You raised me to survive you, I snapped. And I supported myself. She stood in the center of my apartment like it was hers. Like she had a key to my life. She hadn't even said congratulations when I got the job offer. 6 figures, full benefits, corner office. But now that the paychecks were clearing, suddenly I wasn't the burden anymore. I was the family investment. Noah leaned on the kitchen counter, arms crossed, grinning like this was some sitcom rerun he'd seen 100 times. Look, it's not that deep, he said with that cocky shrug. We're just asking you to help out. I've got a new business idea. I'm not funding your 4th business, Noah. I said coolly. You burned through Dad's retirement and Mom's emergency fund. I'm not next. His face twisted like I'd kicked a puppy. Wow, you really think you're better than us now? No, I said quietly, calmly. I've always known I was. Elaine's eyes blazed. We are your family. Without us you'd be nothing. I walked to the door and pulled it open. Then you'll be fine without me. She didn't move. You'll regret this, she hissed. Blood is blood. I didn't flinch. I just stared her down until she finally walked out. Noah followed, sulking like a kid who got his video games taken away. That was Thursday. On Monday I got served. I was at work finishing up a quarterly report, when our receptionist, Avery, came in looking like she'd rather disappear through the floor. I'm so sorry, she whispered. He said you had to sign this. A man in the lobby, suit. Smug grin, like he thought he was the main character in a legal drama. Claire Weston? He asked. I nodded. You've been served. I took the envelope, my hand stayed steady. Until I saw the first line, petition for conservatorship on the basis of mental incompetence. I sat down in the break room hard. The buzzing fluorescent lights overhead felt like a swarm of wasps. I read the document 3 times before I could breathe. They weren't just trying to take my money. They were trying to erase me. My name is Claire Weston. I'm 29, I work in finance. And I'm damn good at what I do, better than half the men who try to explain my own reports back to me like I'm a clueless intern. I grew up in a house where silence was a currency and love came with fine print. Noah could have set the whole kitchen on fire and they'd call it innovation. I once got grounded for bringing home a B1 in algebra. People think favoritism is subtle. It isn't. It's loud. It's birthday cake with no candles. It's family photos you aren't. It's your mom telling the neighbors, Noah's our little genius, while you're standing right there holding a full-ride scholarship in your hand. I learned early to keep records. The first time I recorded Elaine screaming at me, I was 11. She'd accused me of stealing her bracelet. Noah had pawned it to buy weed. But she never asked him. She pinned me in the hallway, nails digging into my arm. I remember my fingers shaking as I hit record on the flip phone I wasn't even supposed to have. I kept that file, still have it. It's backed up on 3 drives now. The night I got those papers, I didn't cry. I went home, opened my laptop, pulled up a folder I hadn't touched in years. Each subfolder labeled by date, by incident, screenshots, voicemails, audio files, text messages. Claire, don't embarrass us again. Just say yes. Help Noah. You're being hysterical. You always overreact. Your brother needs this more than you do. One by one, I played them. My own voice shaky at first, then stronger. Elaine's voice cold, sharp. Noah's laughter in the background, over and over, like a track on repeat. I wasn't crazy. I was raised by people who needed me to think I was. I picked up my phone and called Julian, my best friend since college, former debate partner, the only person who knew everything. He answered on the second ring. What's wrong? They're trying to put me under conservatorship. Silence. Then, what the actual hell? I need help, I whispered. Legal help. And I think I know who to ask. I walked over to the bookshelf and pulled out the old photo album I had swiped from my parents' attic last Christmas, hidden under a pile of expired tax forms and a bag of Noah's baby teeth. Oh, I'd found a photo from my mom younger, smiling stiffly beside a woman I didn't recognize. She had my eyes. On the back in faded ink. Celeste. Don't tell Robert. I googled the name once. Celeste Hartman, a family law attorney in Manhattan. Her last name, same as Elaine's maiden name. My mom told me she died a long time ago. She hadn't. And now I was going to find her. Because if my family wanted war, they should have remembered exactly who they trained. I stood outside the law office in Manhattan's Upper West Side, clutching the photo like it was some kind of protective charm. The brass plaque by the heavy oak door read, Hartman and Wells LLP, Family Law and Estate Planning. I hadn't called ahead. I didn't even know what I was going to say. I just knew I had to be there. That I needed her. Inside, the receptionist looked up from her screen, brows slightly raised. The air smelled faintly of citrus and old wood. Do you have an appointment? No, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. But I need to speak with Celeste Hartman. It's about Elaine Weston. Her eyes flickered. That name still carried weight. Apparently. Please wait here. 10 minutes passed. I could hear the ticking of a clock somewhere, each second scraping against my nerve. Then the back office door opened, and a woman stepped into view. She looked to be in her mid-60s. Tailored navy suit, silver hair pulled into a razor-straight bun, eyes like polished steel. Her gaze landed on me and widened. Claire? She asked, voice low but unmistakably sharp. I nodded. She stared for a beat, then said softly, Come in. Her office was elegant and intimidating. Leather-bound volumes lined the walls. The scent of old books and something warm, maybe cinnamon, hung in the air. She gestured for me to sit, then closed the door behind us. I handed her the photo without a word. My fingers shook. I found this in my parents' attic, I said. You're in it. Celeste took the photo carefully, her jaw locked tight as she studied it. I didn't think she kept this, she murmured. She told me you were. She let out a bitter, almost laugh. Of course she did. I reached into my bag and pulled out the court papers, setting them on her desk. They're trying to take control of my finances, claiming I'm mentally unstable. Celeste's eyes darted across the document. Her brow furrowed. This is serious. I know, I whispered. That's why I came to you. She looked up, a guarded curiosity in her expression. Why me? Because you're the only one who's ever been erased by her like I have. And because I think you know things about my family that I don't. Celeste leaned back slowly in her chair. Her gaze didn't soften, but it deepened, like she was staring not just at me but through me. You're not wrong. I hesitated for a moment. Then I asked the question that had been burning in my throat since I opened that envelope. Will you help me? She didn't respond right away. She just tapped the edge of the court papers with one long finger. Do you have evidence? I nodded, pulling out my laptop and opening the archive folders. Years of pain, I clicked through them. Screenshots, voicemails, audio clips, text threads. A message from Noah at 2 a.m., demanding money. A voice memo of Elaine telling me not to make a scene at Grandpa's funeral when I confronted them about stealing my college fund. Celeste's face remained unreadable, but her eyes sharpened like a blade. Start sending these to me, she said. All of them. I'll draft a response and petition for a formal hearing. We'll need to move quickly. I nodded. Thank you. She paused, eyes flicking up again. Claire, do you really understand what you're about to do? I met her gaze, steady and sure. They came for me first. She gave one small nod. Then let's get to work. That night I sat on my living room floor with Julie. He had his laptop open, scanning files like a man prepping for trial. I had a bottle of wine, a notebook, and years' worth of dates committed to memory. Okay, he said, dragging a file into a folder. This voicemail where your mom says, you're just like your aunt, always trying to ruin everything. That's gold. It proves she acknowledges Celeste exists. Use it. I nodded. We need to show a pattern. He clicked and renamed the folder, Admissible Evidence. I reached for the old USB drive. This has the Christmas 2018 audio, when Noah blew up at me in front of the whole family. When he called you a parasite for not paying off his car loan. Yeah, that one. Julian let out a low whistle. This family, you've only seen the highlights. He looked up at me, his expression softening. You okay? I stared at the screen. Folder names stared back at me. Gaslighting, threats, manipulation. I don't know, I said. But I'm ready. He gave me a slow nod. Good. Because they're. 3 days later I met Celeste again. She handed me a manila folder. the edges crisp. This is the response I filed. The hearing is in 2 weeks. But, she reached into her briefcase and pulled out another photo. My breath caught. It was from the 90s. My mom, Celeste, and a man I didn't recognize. That's Daniel Pierce, she said. He and Elaine had something. Around the time you were conceived. I stared at the man. He had my eyes. Same almond shape. Same dark hazel hue. You think he's my father? I don't know, Celeste said, her voice careful. But I do know that Elaine changed your birth certificate in night. I found the paperwork. My stomach twisted. Why would she do that? Because if you were legally Robert's daughter, they could link your finances to the Weston family trust. If not, they had no claim. Exactly. I leaned back in the chair, pulse roaring in my ears. So this was never just about a conservatorship. It never was. My eyes returned to the photo. Daniel Pierce. The stranger with my face. Celeste placed a hand over the folder. We'll do a DNA test. Quietly. But Claire, once this comes out, there's no going back. I took a long breath and nodded. I'm not going back. She gave me the smallest smile. Good. That night, I combed through the family photo album again. Behind a picture of Noah's high school graduation, I found a sealed envelope. My name was on the front. The handwriting shook like it had been written by someone in hiding. I opened it with trembling fingers. Inside was a letter. Claire, if you're reading this, it means you found her. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I wanted to, but your mother made it clear if I ever reached out she'd destroy me. I couldn't risk it, but I never stopped watching. I followed your career. I've seen your strength. You are nothing like her, and everything like me. Love, Celeste. The letter blurred as my eyes filled with tears. They tried to erase me, but I wasn't the one disappearing. Not anymore. I stared at the letter until the words bled into each other. My fingers clutched the edges so tightly they crumpled the paper. They tried to erase me, but I wasn't the one disappearing anymore. Not this time. Why do you want to talk to me now? Emily asked, arms crossed as she stood in the doorway of her Brooklyn apartment. Her posture said she didn't want me there, but she'd already agreed to the meeting. She just needed the armor. After everything. Because I think you know exactly who Noah is, I said. And I think you're tired of pretending you don't. She studied me in silence. Her face looked different than I remembered. Sharper around the jaw, harder around the eyes. She wore the kind of edge people don't get from fashion magazines. They get it from betrayal. 5 minutes, she said finally, stepping aside. Her apartment was small but clean. A golden retriever barked from the back room before going quiet again. She tossed a hoodie over a pile of laundry on the couch, and motioned for me to sit. I'm not here to drag you into anything, I said gently, but I need the truth, and I think you want to tell. Emily sat across from me, legs bouncing. Her nails were chipped red, like she'd stopped caring halfway through painting them. You know he drained our joint account, right? Told me it was a business emergency. I found out later he bought a drone and a PS5. I nodded. That sounds exactly like him. He told me I was lucky to be with him. Said my job didn't matter because he'd be a millionaire by 30. She scoffed. Sharp and humorless. He's 33 and owes my cousin $5,000. I pulled out my phone and opened the voice record. Can I record this? Emily hesitated. Only if you promise I won't get dragged into court. I can't promise that, but I can promise I'll protect you the best I can. And I'll never let him do to anyone else what he did to us. She stared at me, searching my face for a lot. Then she nodded. I tapped the red button. Start wherever you want. She took a shaky breath. Thanksgiving. 2 years ago. We were at your parents' house. You remember that? Yeah. He was drunk. Your mom was pretending not to know and said something about your promotion. And he just snapped. Started yelling about how you thought you were better than everyone. I nodded slowly. I remember. What you don't know is I left my phone in the baby's room. The monitor was on. It recorded everything. My heart. You still have it. She walked to a drawer and pulled out a small flash drive. I've been holding on to this for a long time. She handed it to me, her fingers brushed mine cold. Deliberate. There's more, she said, her voice low. Your mom? I looked. She told me once you were unstable, that you had episodes. I asked her what she meant, and she said you were always emotional, dramatic. She said if Noah ever needed to protect the family, they had ways to handle you. I felt the air drain from my lungs. She said that, to your face. Emily nodded. I didn't believe her. Not until I saw how they treated you when you weren't around. I swallowed, hard. Why are you helping me now? She looked down at her hands. Because I stayed quiet too long. Her eyes flicked back to Mom. And because your mom isn't who you think she is. She paused. And neither are you. The next morning, I met Julian at a diner in Midtown, the kind with cracked vinyl booths and coffee that tasted like courage. I slid the flash drive across the table. What's this? Thanksgiving. The real version. He popped it into his laptop, fitted his earbuds, and hit play. I watched his face change as he listened. Eyebrows dropped, jaw clenched. A vein pulsed in his temple. Jesus, he muttered. This is bad. Good, I said. I want them to hear it in court. He looked up at me. You sure you're ready for that? I nodded. Steady. They wanted to turn me into a ghost. I'm done haunting myself to keep them comfortable. A small crooked smile tugged at his lips. You're terrifying when you're like this. Good, I said again. They should be scared. Celeste listened to the audio later that afternoon in her office. She didn't flinch when Noah's voice slurred from the speakers, dripping with rage. She didn't blink when Elaine's voice came through, clipped and cool. Don't provoke him, Claire. You know how he gets. When it ended, Celeste sat back slowly in her chair. This is gold. It establishes a clear pattern: emotional abuse, gaslighting, targeted manipulation. She met my eyes. And it shows their version of events is a lie. I want it entered into evidence. It will. I hesitated. There's something else. I told her what Emily said. About the stories Elaine spread. About the claim that I had episodes. That they'd been planning this for years. Celeste's jaw tightened. Her eyes darkened. They've been building a case against you in whisper. I think they always knew you'd fight back. And they underestimated me. I pulled a folder from my bag and laid it on the desk. My academic records. Medical history. Employment reports. All clean. No diagnosis. No incidents. They can't fake this. She took it, flipping through the first few pages. We'll schedule an independent psych evaluation. Voluntary. That'll crush their claim before it's even heard. I nodded. She leaned forward. Claire, I need you to understand something. This isn't just about money. This is about power. And your mother, she doesn't lose. She will this time. Celeste smiled. Not wide, but full of fire. Let's make sure of it. That night I pulled out my old journal. The one with the battered cover and pages stained by time and tears. I flipped to a page from freshman year of high school. Mom said I was too sensitive again. Noah stole my headphones. She said I should have hidden them better. I cried. She told me to stop being dramatic. I stayed in my room all night. No one noticed. I traced the words with my finger. I could still feel how small I felt that day. Then I ripped the page out, fed it into the shredder, and watched it disappear. Because I wasn't that girl anymore. And this time, I wasn't hiding. I cried that night. Not from weakness, but from the strange sharp ache of remembering how invisible I used to be. I'd stayed in my room all night that time, and no one noticed. No knock. No check-in. Nothing. I tore that journal page from my past and fed it into the shredder. That version of me, the silenced girl, the forgotten one, was gone. I wasn't hiding anymore, and I wasn't alone. The courtroom smelled like old wood and nerves. I sat beside Celeste at the long oak table, the polished surface gleaming under harsh white light. Across from us, Elaine, Robert and Noah looked like they were posing for a glossy family magazine, matching beige tones, fake smiles. Noah even fixed his tie like we were on a red carpet. Elaine, she wore pearls. Of course she did. Then the courtroom doors opened. Judge Marlowe entered, her black robe flowing like it cut through lies. She was tall, angular and didn't bother with pleasantries. Her eyes scanned the room like she could already smell deceit settling in the air. Let's begin, she said. Their lawyer stood first, Martin Doyle, all slicked back hair, smug confidence, and leather shoes that probably cost more than my monthly rent. He gestured toward me like I was some object behind glass. Your Honor, the Weston family is here today out of deep concern for their daughter's mental well-being, he began smoothly. Over the past year, Miss Claire Weston has exhibited erratic, paranoid and financially reckless behavior. I almost laughed out loud. She's isolated herself from the family, he went on, refuses to communicate, and has made multiple large financial decisions without consulting anyone. We believe she poses a danger to herself and potentially others. Celeste stood, cool and precise. Objection. None of these claims are backed by medical reports, police involvement or evidence of financial instability. My client is a successful professional with no known diagnosis, a clean legal history, and a documented six-figure income. Judge Marlowe nodded. Sustained. Mr. Doyle, Stick to verifiable facts. Martin cleared his throat and adjusted his tie. Of course, Your Honor. We have statements from close family members, including her brother, describing emotional outbursts and irrational conduct. Noah strutted up to the witness stand like he was stepping onto a nightclub stage. He even gave the courtroom a quick smile, like this was his moment. Noah, Martin prompted. Can you describe your sister's behavior over the past year? She's been off, Noah said with a fake sigh. She cut us off for no reason. She accused our mom of stealing from her, which is frankly insane. She's always been kind of intense, emotional. Like she once screamed at me over a phone charger. My fingers curled into fists under the table. Celeste leaned over and whispered, "Stay calm, let him hang himself." Martin smiled as if this was all going perfectly. And would you say she's financially reckless? Noah leaned forward with fake concern. She bought a $2,000 couch. I mean, who does that when their family is struggling? Celeste stood again, measured and sharp. Objection. That purchase was well within my client's income range, and any financial strain in the Weston household is due to Mr. Noah Weston's failed ventures, not my client's independent spending. Judge Marlowe gave a slight nod. Let's move on. Elaine took the stand next. She looked right at me when she began. Claire has always been sensitive, she said with a forced gentleness. We've tried to support her, but she shuts us out. Refuses help. She's convinced we're all out to get her. Celeste rose once more. Your Honor, I'd like to submit exhibit. She handed a flash drive to the bailiff, who inserted it into the courtroom system. A beat of silence. Then Noah's voice slurred over the speakers. You think you're better than us. You're not. You're just a R with a paycheck. Elaine's voice followed, cold and clear. Don't provoke him, Claire. You know how he gets. Silence. Judge Marlowe turned to Elaine. Do you deny this is your voice? Elaine's jaw stiffened. That was taken out of context. Celeste smiled faintly. We have the full recording, Your Honor. 37 minutes. Would you like to hear it all? No, the judge said. That's enough for now. Martin tried to salvage it. That was a private family moment, Your Honor. And Celeste cut him off. It was a family moment and it shows a clear pattern. Emotional abuse, gaslighting, targeted psychological manipulation. Judge Marlowe turned to me. Mrs. Weston, would you like to respond? I stood. My legs trembled at first, but I locked my knees and looked straight at Elaine. My whole life I thought I was crazy, that I was too sensitive, too dramatic, too much, but I wasn't. I turned to the judge. I just didn't fit into the version of family they wanted. I took a breath. I've worked since I was 15. I put myself through college. I've never asked them for anything, but the moment I built a life for myself on my own, they decided they wanted control. When I said no, they called me mentally unfit. Martin stood. Objection. Sit down, Judge Marlowe said firmly. I looked at my parents again. They called me unstable, but I have no history of mental illness. I have no debt. I have a job I earned. And I have proof of every lie they've told, every manipulation, every time they treated me like property instead of a person. I stepped down. Judge Marlowe turned to Celeste. Anything further? Celeste walked calmly to the bench and placed a sealed envelope on it. This may alter the standing of the complaint entirely. What is it? The judge asked. Confidential documents regarding my client's birth certificate and potential paternity. If confirmed, the petitioners are not legally entitled to file for conservatorship. Elaine's face drained of color. Judge Marlowe opened the envelope. Her eyes scanned the contents slowly. Then she looked up. We'll reconvene in 3 days, Judge Marlowe said. Voice like steel. In the meantime, I'm issuing a temporary freeze on all financial access to Miss Claire Weston's accounts by the petitioners. Her gavel came down with a sharp crack. Court adjourned. The room erupted into low murmurs, but I didn't hear any of it. Outside the courtroom, Elaine grabbed my arm. What the hell do you think you're doing? She hissed. I jerked away from her grip. You should have left me alone. You're destroying this family. No, I said, steady as ever. You did that a long time ago. Noah stepped in beside her, eyes wide and wild. You think this is over? You think you're going to win? I stared at him. Really? I said, voice cool. You already lost. Then I turned and walked away. Later at Celeste's office, she slid a manila folder across the table toward me. You might want to sit down before you open that. I was already sitting. Didn't matter. My stomach dropped anyway. I peeled back the flap. Fingers tense, and pulled out the documents. Duplicate birth certificates. Notarized letters, a trust agreement. Noah's name was on every line. What is this? I whispered, flipping through the pages. The original version of your birth certificate, Celeste said quietly. And the one Elaine submitted to the court in I froze. She changed it. Celeste nodded. She needed you to be Robert's daughter legally because of the family trust. I looked up slowly. So, I'm not. There's a strong chance you're not biologically related to Robert Weston. I'm still waiting for the DNA results to confirm. I stared at the paper, the edges blurring slightly. They built a trust and left me out. Correct, she said. The trust was created using money from your maternal grandfather. It was intended to be divided between both children, but Elaine funneled everything into Noah's name. She used your altered legal status to make it look clean. I rubbed my temple. My entire skull throbbed. So, they stole my inheritance. And now they're trying to steal the rest. Exactly, Celeste said. This is financial fraud. And if the DNA results confirm what we think, their entire case collapses. What happens to the if you're not Robert's biological daughter, you were never legally bound to the original contract. But we can sue for restitution, especially if we prove Elaine altered the documents intentionally. I closed the folder. Let's do. 2 days later I was back in the house I grew up in. Court-mandated mediation. One last attempt to resolve things privately. I didn't want to be there but Celeste insisted it was strategic. Let them show their hand. Let them talk themselves into ruin. The house smelled the same lemon cleaner. And lies. Elaine greeted me at the door with a sugary smile. Claire, you look tired. You look desperate. I replied as I walked in. Robert sat stiffly on the couch, holding a mug like it might protect him from the truth. He didn't meet my eye. We sat at the long dining table. The mediator, a woman in her 50s with warm eyes and a neutral tone, opened her notebook. Let's begin. Elaine launched into her performance first. We're here because we love our daughter and want what's best for her, she said with perfect poise. She's clearly under a great deal of stress, and that stress has caused her to make some irrational decisions. I let out a short laugh. You mean like refusing to give you my money? Like cutting ties with people who stole from me? I turned to the mediator. May I respond? She nodded. I reached into my bag and pulled out a printed email. This is from 2017. I said, Elaine asked me to co-sign a loan for Noah. When I declined, she called me a selfish little girl, and told me I'd regret it. I slid it across the table. Elaine's face didn't flinch. That was taken out of context. Here's another, I said, producing my second document. A text from Noah, threatening to ruin me unless I sent him $5,000. Robert finally spoke. His voice was quiet. Claire, you're blowing this out of proportion. I turned to him. Did you know? He blinked. Know what? That I'm not your daughter. Silence dropped like a curtain. Elaine's face drained of color. Robert turned slowly to her. What is she talking about? I pulled a folded photo from my pocket and placed it gently on the table. This man, I said, Daniel Pierce. He and Elaine had an affair. Around the time I was conceived. Elaine shot to her feet. This is ridiculous. I didn't stop. You changed my birth certificate. You funneled money into a trust fund that was supposed to belong to both of us. You lied to everyone, especially me. And now you're trying to take the only life I built for myself. The mediator raised a hand. Perhaps we should pause here. No, I said firmly. We're not pausing. We're finished. Elaine leaned in over the table, fury rippling beneath her mask of calm. You think you can destroy us with this? You think anyone will care? You're just a bitter little girl with daddy issues. I stood up. No, I'm a grown woman with evidence. I turned to Robert. Did you know? He didn't answer. Elaine snapped. Of course he knew. He just didn't care. As long as the money stayed in the family. Robert winced. Elaine. I looked at him, looked through him. You're worse than she is. I grabbed my bag and left. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind spun in loops, always circling back to one image, the attic. Specifically the old safe buried behind boxes of holiday junk and forgotten lies. I remembered it from childhood. Elaine always said it was nothing but boring paperwork. I didn't believe that anymore. So after midnight, I drove to the house. The street was dark. Still, I still had a key. I crept inside, heart pounding, and climbed the stairs. The attic door creaked open. The air smelled like dust and memories I didn't ask for. The safe was still there, and I still remembered the combination. Noah's birthday. Click. The dial clicked into place. Noah's birthday. The combination I remembered from years ago. The safe creaked open like it had been holding its breath all these years. Inside were folders. Old tax returns. Legal paperwork. A handful of dusty letters. One envelope was addressed to Elaine. The other unopened had my name on it. I took a breath and opened it. Claire, if you're reading this, I failed. I should have told you everything so much sooner. Your mother made it clear I wasn't welcome in your life, but I've watched you grow from afar. You're stronger than she ever imagined, and I'm so sorry you had to be. You deserve the truth. You deserve peace. And you deserve every cent they tried to steal from you. Love, Celeste. I sat down on the cold attic floor, the letter trembling in my hands. They tried to erase me, but I found the proof. And soon the whole world would see it too. The courtroom was packed. Word had gotten out, probably thanks to Emily's cryptic tweet about finally telling the truth. Or maybe it was just the sheer thrill people get watching a picture-perfect family implode in public. Either way, the gallery was full when we walked in. Celeste looked poised, serene, even. Me? I felt like I might pass out. Just breathe, Julian whispered, pressing a chilled water bottle into my hand. You've got this. Emily was already seated by the witness stand, hands folded neatly in her lap. She gave me a small, solemn nod. I nodded back. Judge Marlowe entered. We all rose. Let's proceed, she said, her voice firm and cutting. Miss Hartman, call your next witness. Celeste stood with practiced grace. We call Emily Cross. Emily walked to the stand, took the oath and sat down. Her posture was tight, but when she spoke her voice didn't waver once. Miss Cross, Celeste began. How long were you in a relationship with Mr. Noah West? 3 years, Emily answered. On and off. Can you describe the dynamic between Noah and his family? Emily nodded. They treated him like he could do no wrong. Especially his mom. If he screwed up, someone else got blamed. Usually Claire. Celeste handed her a small record. Do you recognize this? Emily pressed play. Noah's voice snarled through the courtroom speakers. She thinks she's better than me. That money should have been mine. I swear to God if she doesn't give it up I'll make her life hell. She won't see it coming. Gasps rippled across the room. Even reporters near the back leaned forward. Elaine's face turned to stone. When did you record that? Celeste asked. Last year, Emily said. He didn't know I left my phone on. Did you witness any financial misconduct? Emily nodded again. He used my name to open a credit line. I found out when the bills came. When I confronted him he said his mom would take care of it. And she did. Judge Marlowe leaned forward slightly. Did Mrs. Weston know it was fraud? Yes. I told her. She said it was just paperwork, and that I needed to stop being dramatic. Celeste turned to the bench. We submit this audio in Miss Cross's testimony as evidence of character, intent and financial manipulation. Admitted, the judge said. Elaine suddenly stood, her voice high and trembling. This is a setup. That girl has always hated us. Sit down, Judge Marlowe snapped. Or I will hold you in contempt. Elaine sank back into her seat, shaking. Celeste called Julian. He walked to the stand confidently, swore in and flipped open his laptop. I've been helping Claire gather documentation, he said. And I found something enlightening. He typed a few keys. This is a transaction log from a shared family account. It shows Noah transferred $15,000 to a private account under a fake LLC. He clicked again. The LLC doesn't exist. It's a shell. And here's the kicker. The routing number traces back to an account under Elaine Weston's name. She authorized it. The judge raised a brow. Are you stating the petitioners are involved in financial fraud? Yes, Your Honor, Julian said. The full report has been submitted. Noah jumped to his feet. That's a lie. That's not even my... Mr. Weston, the judge barked. Sit down. His face flushed crimson. He sat trembling with rage, glancing at Elaine, who looked ready to erupt. Celeste rose again. Your Honor, we also submit additional bank statements, emails and a signed document showing that Robert Weston was aware of these transactions and chose not to report them. Robert looked like he wanted to vanish into his blazer. The judge turned to him. Mr. Weston, do you deny this? He didn't speak. Mr. Weston, finally, he muttered. I didn't want to ruin the family. You mean the image of the family, I said from my seat. The judge turned to me. Ms. Weston, do you have anything further to submit? Celeste answered by handing her another envelope. DNA test results. Confirming Claire Weston is not biologically related to Robert Weston. Judge Marlowe opened it, read quickly and looked up. This changes the legal standing of the petitioners. They are not her legal guardians. They hold no legal or financial claim over Ms. Weston. Elaine shot to her feet. You can't do this. She's still my daughter. She's not your property, I said evenly. Elaine turned to me wild-eyed. You ungrateful little. Enough. The judge snapped. One more outburst, and I'll clear this courtroom. Elaine sat, trembling, lips pressed into a tight, colorless line. Celeste stepped forward. We request the petition be dismissed with prejudice, and we are filing for damages, defamation, emotional distress, and attempted financial exploitation. The judge nodded. I'll take a brief recess. We reconvene in 30 minutes for the ruling. In the hallway, I headed for the water fountain. That's when Noah cornered me. You think this is over? He spat. You think you won? I didn't flinch. I didn't win. I looked him in the eye, calm as ever. You lost. All on your own. His jaw twitched. You ruined everything. No, I said softly. I exposed everything. You ruined it. He stepped forward like he meant to tower over me. But Julian appeared beside me, quiet and sharp as a blade. Step back, Noah. Noah glared at both of us, but didn't say another word. He just stormed off, dragging his fury behind him like a cape. He backed off, eyes burning, rage simmering just beneath the surface. But he didn't make another move. Celeste looked at me, her expression softening for just a moment. You okay? I nodded. Let's finish this. Back inside the courtroom, we returned to our seats just as Judge Marlowe strode back in, her robes sweeping behind her like a curtain closing on an old play. She adjusted her glasses, looked straight ahead, and delivered the words that would crack everything open. The court finds the petitioners acted in bad faith. The request for conservatorship is denied and dismissed. A pause. Furthermore, this matter is being referred to the district attorney's office for a potential criminal investigation into financial fraud and perjury. Elaine gasped. Noah muttered a curse beneath his breath. Judge Marlowe raised her gavel. This is no longer a matter of family. This is a matter for federal prosecution. Bang. Gavel down. Court adjourned. The courtroom had gone dead silent when Celeste stood again, holding the DNA envelope in her hand. Her voice was calm, but every word sliced through the silence like a blade. Your Honor, this document confirms that Claire Weston is not biologically related to Robert Weston, meaning the petitioners have no legal standing to file for guardianship or exert any financial control. The entire petition is invalid. Judge Marlowe took the envelope, opened it and read the results. Her eyes flicked first to Elaine, then to Robert, then finally to me. Is this accurate? She asked. Celeste nodded. Verified by an independent lab. Full chain of custody maintained. Elaine shot up so fast her chair screeched against the floor. This is slander. No, Celeste said coolly. This is science. Elaine's voice cracked. She is my daughter. I raised her. I fed her. You forged her birth certificate. Celeste interrupted, stepping forward now. You took money meant for both children and funneled it into a trust solely under Noah's name. You lied to your husband. You lied to your daughter. And you lied to this Robert finally spoke, voice hoarse. You told me she was mine. Elaine spun on him, face flushed. You knew. You said it didn't matter. I said I didn't want to know. He snapped. You made the choice to lie. I just let you. Celeste turned back to the judge. Your Honor, in addition to dismissing the petition, we're submitting evidence of financial misconduct, document falsification and perjury. She handed over a thick folder. Judge Marlowe flipped through the pages. This is substantial. Celeste continued, unwavering. We are also requesting damages for emotional distress, defamation and attempted financial exploitation. My client has suffered both professionally and personally because of this case. Elaine's face twisted, barely able to hold the facade anymore. She's not a victim. She's vindictive. She's always been jealous of Noah. She's always tried to tear this family apart. I stood. You tore it apart the day you chose him, over and over again. I stared her down, every word scraping from deep in my chest. When you told me I was too emotional, too dramatic. When you let him scream at me and called it just boys being boys. When you painted me as crazy just because I stopped letting you control me. Elaine lunged. I gave you everything. No, I said. You took everything. And now you're just mad I survived it. A bailiff stepped in, blocking her path. Elaine backed away, chest heaving, lips trembling. Celeste turned back to the judge. We request a formal ruling. Judge Marlowe nodded. The court finds in favor of the respondent, Claire Weston. The petition is dismissed with prejudice. Damages will be awarded following a separate hearing. She turned over one last page. This case will also be referred to the district attorney for further investigation. Bang! Gavel slammed. Elaine screamed. Actually screamed. You ungrateful little. You ruined us. I didn't flinch. I didn't blink. I just watched her unravel. Noah tried to pull her away but she shoved him off with both hands. This is your fault too. You couldn't just shut up and let me handle it. Robert stood there like a shadow. Silent. Hollow. The bailiff escorted them out. One by one. Celeste turned to me and gave a slow nod. It's done. I nodded back. Almost. Outside the courthouse, the chaos was instant. Cameras flashed. Reporters swarmed. Microphones were shoved into my face. Claire, do you have a comment? Are you pressing charges? Is it true you're not biologically related to Robert Weston? I raised my hand. No comment. Julian appeared through the crowd and gently guided me toward the car. You okay? He asked once we were inside. I don't know, I said honestly. I think I just won, but it doesn't feel like winning. He opened the door on my side. It never does. Later that night, I sat in Celeste's office signing the last of the paperwork. She poured us each a glass of wine. To the end of the worst chapter, she said. I lifted my glass to the beginning of the next. She handed me a folder. This is everything the court awarded you. Damages, restitution and, believe it or not, a formal apology from the state for the mishandling of the original filing. I flipped through the contents. My throat tightened. This is a lot. You earned every cent, she said. I looked up at her. Why did you write that letter? The one you left for me in the attic safe? She smiled faintly. Because I knew, one day you'd need to hear the truth. Not from a judge. Not from a lawyer. From someone who's been where you are. I nodded slowly. Thank you. She raised her glass again. You didn't just survive them, Claire. You beat them. As I stepped out into the quiet New York night, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You think this is over? I stared at it for a second, then blocked the number. Because I did think it was over. And if it wasn't, I was ready. And if it wasn't over, well, I was ready. The wind whipped through the cemetery trees as I stepped onto the gravel path. The sky overhead was gray. Not dramatic, just weary, like it had witnessed too many endings and not enough healing. I found the grave easily. The headstone was simple and worn. Daniel Pierce, beloved friend, 1965-2000. I crouched beside it, brushing away the dead leaves that had gathered at its base. I don't know if you ever knew about me, I said quietly, but I know about you now. I reached into my coat pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. A copy of the DNA result, not because he needed proof, but because I did. I placed it gently on the stone. I'm not here for closure, I whispered. I'm just here. Behind me I heard soft footsteps crunch through the gravel. I turned. Celeste stood there, holding two coffees. Didn't think you'd come, I said. I owed him, she replied simply, handing me a cup. And I owed you. We stood side by side for a long moment, sipping quietly. The silence between us wasn't heavy. It was full of everything we didn't need to say out loud. I started the paperwork, I said eventually. For the scholarship fund. She smiled. The kind that reached her eyes. Under his name? Yeah. For kids like me. The ones who were invisible in their own homes. Celeste nodded, her voice soft. He would have liked that. I looked at her. Do you think he would have liked me? She didn't hesitate. Not even for a second. He would have loved you. Back at my apartment. The boxes were stacked against the wall. Not moving boxes. Donation boxes. I was finally letting go of the life I built just to survive them. Trophies they never saw me win. Photos I used to pretend meant something. A drawer full of journals from years I was too scared to reread. Julian walked in, carrying takeout. You sure you're ready to let all this go? He asked, setting the food down. Yeah, I said, taping the final box shut. It's not who I am anymore. He nodded, glancing around. You know, you could write a book about all this. People would eat it up. I laughed. A revenge memoir. No, he said. A truth memoir. I tilted my head, considering. You think anyone would care? He shrugged. Doesn't matter. You'd be telling your story, not theirs. I walked over to my desk, pulled out a fresh notebook. On the first page in bold black ink, I wrote, "This is not about revenge. This is about reclamation. Julian leaned over my shoulder, reading the words. "That your title, working on it." He grinned. "You're going to be dangerous with a pen." I smiled back. "Good." The next morning I got a call from the DA's office. "Just wanted to inform you," the woman on the other end said. "The investigation into the Weston family is moving forward. Noah's being charged with wire fraud and identity theft. Elaine is being looked at for perjury and falsifying legal documents." I didn't ask about Rob, I just thanked her and hung up. The last time I saw Elaine was in the parking lot of a grocery store in Queens. She was sitting alone in her car, staring blankly at the steering wheel like she'd forgotten how to drive. I walked past without stopping, but she saw me. The window rolled down. "Claire." I turned slowly. She looked older. Not in the way time ages you, but in the way guilt does, slow and merciless. "I didn't know how to love you," she said. Her voice barely made it above the hum of nearby traffic. "I thought if I controlled you I could keep you safe." I met her eyes. "You weren't keeping me safe. You were keeping me small." She swallowed hard. "Do you hate me?" I paused. "No." Her face buckled. "But I don't forgive you either," I added. "Not yet." She nodded slowly. "I don't expect you to." I turned and walked away. She didn't stop me. That night I sat on the balcony with Celeste and Julian. The city shimmered beneath us, cars like fireflies, windows like stars. We passed a bottle of wine back and forth. Our laughter softer now, our silence sacred. "You know," I said, "I always thought justice would feel cleaner." Celeste chuckled. "It never is. It's like I won," I said. "But I still lost something." "You lost the illusion," Julian replied. "That's always the hardest part." I nodded, letting that truth settle in my chest. "But I gained something too." "Your freedom," Celeste said. "No," I corrected gently. "My name." They both looked at me. I reached into my bag and pulled out the document I had picked up that morning. Legal name change approval. Claire Pierce. My birth father's name. My name now. All of it. Celeste raised her glass. "To Claire Pierce." Julian lifted his. "To truth." We clinked our glasses together. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I was surviving. I felt like I was living. I didn't burn their empire down for revenge. I did it so they'd stop pretending they ever built it. The story of Claire Pierce teaches us that sometimes the greatest betrayal doesn't come from strangers, but from the people who claim to love us most. When family becomes the source of manipulation, gaslighting and financial abuse, choosing yourself can feel like rebellion, but it's actually redemption. Claire's journey reminds us that survival isn't the end goal. Reclaiming your truth is. No one has the right to define your worth, rewrite your past or control your future. Justice isn't always clean, and healing doesn't always come with closure. But when you fight back with truth and courage, you win something deeper: freedom. If this story moved you, challenged you, or gave you strength, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Your support helps us continue telling powerful, raw, and real stories, just like Claire's. And before you go, drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. Whether you're in the US, Asia, Europe, or beyond, your voice matters here. Let's build a global community that believes in justice, resilience, and the quiet power of choosing yourself.